I'm Rob White. I'm co-chair of the Catalyst Committee, which is the capital campaign to raise funds to help with the restoration of Ogden High School. So I got to come and see this about a week ago and went up on this platform up above the auditorium and saw what they were doing and came out and said, we have to invite people to come look at this. It's amazing. So today we are going to go see it. And what we're going to see is the craftsperson, the painter, who is restoring the plaster casting work around the proscenium, the opening of the stage. And this guy has a great story to tell, and it's really, it's just amazing to be up close and with your nose right in front of this amazing Art Deco plaster work. So, let's go.
These are the old stairs.
Oh, yeah.
You want to see outside thing?
Yeah.
Hey, watch your head though.
Remember having the ninth graders up here for the opening
Yeah.
assembly and
Wonder if somebody's gonna push somebody off.
yeah, walking back and forth and, hey, hands to yourself. And
All the kids believe that somebody did fall off there and there's a ghost of Ogden.
Oh yeah,
And
everybody knows
really-
about the ghost of Ogden High,
And
right?
So we're in the auditorium, obviously, in the balcony, and all the seats have been removed and taken away. And here in the balcony, the seats will be simply restored, cleaned up, and put back in. The balcony isn't used all that much right now and hasn't been used. So the seats were in pretty good condition. And then you see a scaffolding all the way around, and that's because every wall is going to be touched. And so you see scaffolding along the wall, and then above us, this frame where we're going to go in a minute, put up so that all of the ceiling can be touched. So we'll see that. Should we go on up?
I think we can run up. Okay. This ceiling is about 5 to 6 foot below. It's about 5 or 6 foot below the ceiling of the real auditorium.
So you can touch it.
So we've been able to get all of our workers up there. That's where we're headed. You'll be okay with it.
I will.
You'll
All
be
right.
okay.
You're gonna be fine.
We have a ladder right over here. We'll just we'll bring you right on up.
So since I've been up here, they put this new fixture in. This is original fixture, and so this is like a demo for everything with the original fixture is back in. That's been cleaned up, and the plaster work around it's been cleaned up. The painters were saying this morning that these were not multicolored originally, but they've kind of continued this pastel element out.
One of the things that's happening up here is the original installation had leafing going on. It was not a real true leaf, and actually our painter here will give us a talk about what's going on, but you can see how the original material is just worn off and gone, just disintegrated. And we'll compare that to some of the new work that's happening up there. I mean, it's just, in a lot of cases, it's just totally gone. The difference in this is not a real gold leaf, it's an imitation leaf. That's why it's turned more of a coppery brown type look.
So this has now got the new leaf, both the silver, which I think is aluminum, and the gold. And you can see they've left the pencil signatures from 1937 there, and there. I think that's it. And I love the last time I was here, this gold wasn't done, and these little buttons just pop out. One of the cool things that the architects have done is they realized that the auditorium was really underlit originally. So they figured out how in the balcony, the front of the balcony, there are spaces for spotlights for stage work, but also for some house lights that they'll put in that will illuminate this proscenium. So that and the new gold is going to be amazing. One of the things that I love about preservation is people will come in and, with the new lighting and this pop, it'll be there's this, I had no idea it was this beautiful kind of thing that will happen. And that's really going to happen here. I mean, look at this.
Oh, I am just I had not seen, I did not know that was inside there. I mean, I could see the bigger piece, I could see that. But it is spectacular. It is so wonderful to see. I'm so grateful I came. Oh,
You never thought
It
you'd be
is
able
beautiful.
to see this
no.
premiere, did you?
I'll tell you, you're not the first person to choke up here.
Oh, my word. I am just awestruck by it.
When we first got into the project here, we had a hard time getting lifts or equipment up here because we're about 45, 50 feet in the air.
Don't tell them that.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Just
The
pretend.
largest lift we could get in would bring us up about 20 feet. So there was a lot that we still couldn't see in analyzing the existing condition of what was happening here. We finally get this scaffold in, this dance floor in, and we stumble across some of the original names, some of the painters that were the original painters. There's 5 of them up here that they've put one here. There are 2 right here, one down here on the bottom, and another one on the side. So there are 5 of the original painters.
What's their names?
Chuck will get us into a little bit of the story about what happens with this, but we didn't even know if this was here. So what we've done is we've clear coated over it, preserved those names again. We're going to leave them. We're going to leave them for the next
how
time.
precious.
So they deserve to be there. We'll just leave well enough for them.
Yeah. Now, wait a minute. Now that they take tagging off, you guys are leaving it on there? What's up with that?
This is an artist signing a
So you didn't tear any of this off, you just refinished it? Is that what
That's
you did?
correct. The process is we've come in and there was a lot of it that was in fairly poor condition because of the scaffolding and the traffic and the activity that happened up above. I mean, there were boards laying essentially on the plaster. You probably recall if you've had kids chasing around
Yes.
up there. That's all been replaced with a steel grading catwalk system up there.
Oh.
Very, very nice for access. Well, as a result of all the boards and the movement on top of the plaster, and some of it was here, there were a lot of cracks in this. It's been restored. They V-groove it out. They use the right material to go back in, sand it down, and just recoat it with paint. And again, Chuck with Rocky Mountain Painter up here, he's got a nice little story that he'll talk about that whole process and what happens with it. But essentially, the paints are the same colors as original. It's been brought back. You know, we've got 70 years of fading that's been taken away from it. So it is a neat process that it's gone through here. So it's a home run, definitely. But with that, let's go ahead and we'll head back up this top, and he's got a neat story up here for us.
Hi, I'm Chuck James, and I'm the decorative painting contractor on this project. There's a regular painting contractor, and there's a decorative painting contractor, and I do the decoration. I've been a painter all my life. I started when I was 9 years old with my grandfather. I graduated from college and didn't really know what else to do, so I just kept painting. And I've painted contracted for about 40 years. And what's interesting about that is when I was starting to contract in 1971, I started to get I was very interested in this kind of painting. And I didn't know anything about that. Prior to that time, I was just a regular house painter. And so I hunted down these guys who were specialists in this area. And it were the same guys that you saw their names on the rosette. And these guys, the contractor on this job in 1936 was Alfred Lippold. He was a German immigrant who came here. He's a master painter, which meant he actually had a master's degree in painting and decorating from a university.
What was his name?
Alfred Lippold. And he was responsible for bringing over about 150 journeyman artisans from Europe to do temples and special projects for the LDS Church, of which the 5 that you see here were his men. And I knew them personally. In fact, as I was starting, I was in my early 20s, they were in their 70s, and they were retiring, and I bought my tools from them. In fact, this brush right here, I actually bought from them. And you can, this is a brush that I had made. I actually had to have these made because they're obsolete brushes, and I still use them today. But so I sent this to Germany to get it reproduced, and they made one, and so they made several for me over the years.
What are the fibers of the hair?
They're actually ox hair. They're ox hair. They're
Ox
very.
hair.
You put it against your cheek and feel how soft it is, and it's just. And that's the only thing that won't scratch the gold. So we have to use a really, really soft brush so that it won't scratch the gold. But when I started out, I was trying to learn more about this kind of stuff, and unfortunately there weren't too many. There was only a handful of these guys that really knew how to do this stuff left in the whole United States. There was only a handful, and I hunted these guys down and found one of them who was willing to teach me, and his name was Henning Anderson, and he said, I will teach you everything I know. But he didn't tell me that it would take 15 years to do that, and I followed him literally around the planet, doing temples and special projects for the LDS Church for 15 years. So I actually had a 15-year apprenticeship under probably the best decorative painter on the planet. And so I was really privileged in that respect. But this job here, we're excited to do this job because it's historic and because it's so decorative, and there's just a handful of buildings like this left in the whole United States. Most of them got painted in the 50s. They got, destroyed. And this one seemed to come through unscathed, and it was just basically hadn't been touched since 1936, and so we're really happy to redo it. And we're doing it pretty much exactly the way it was done originally, with very few exceptions. The center rosette is an exception. You'll notice down there that was all done in grays. You couldn't see it, so we've made a few little changes to make things just a little bit nicer. We're also using gold leaf instead of imitation leaf. They used imitation gold leaf, and if you look over there behind Tim, you'll see that in between the silver is the imitation gold leaf. In fact,
There's the gold leaf right here, look.
yeah, and you'll notice how it turns brown. It oxidizes over the years, and so back in 1936 and prior, actually, they were very, very careful not to use gold because it cost so much. So they would use imitation. Even on the tabernacle organ, on those pipes was all imitation gold. Yeah, but then when they redid it 3 years ago, they did it in real gold. And we did the same thing in the assembly hall when we restored that. That was all done in imitation gold, and we restored it in real gold. And there's about $25,000 in gold just in this room.
So this whole thing you've redone?
Everything's been redone.
Process.
About the only thing that we haven't redone is the center panel underneath here was perfect. It really didn't have a scratch on it. So the only thing we did is change the imitation gold to the real gold. Everything else was the same. So we conserved the areas we can, but there wasn't much that we could conserve here because everything was so dirty. And so, 70 years takes its toll on the inside of a building, even though there's no weather. You had holes everywhere. We spent weeks preparing this, mixing dents and cracks and caulking and putting and sanding and preparing everything just so that it would be really nice. And then 25 different colors that we had to hand match and actually match them by hand. You keep in mind that in 1936, painters did not have formulas for their paint. Everything was mixed by hand, and so everything in here was mixed by hand on the job. And so there's 16 different colors of green, just green. So we're trying to kind of standardize and make it so that we have formulas for these colors and keep it right about 25 colors, which is adequate, I think, for this. But they did a nice job of color selection. We're keeping it pretty much historical with just a few little exceptions, but not much. And again, we really feel it a privilege to work on this job. The painters that we're working behind, just so you know, back then, painters were real artisans. A painter could paint your portrait, and he could paint your palace. He could do everything. And they were trained to do that. And so that's kind of what we're trying to do, is keep that going. And I feel like I'm the last of a long line of artisans that do this kind of work. There's just not too many that keep, to do this kind of stuff. So it's a privilege.
Are you training anyone?
I'm training my sons, but I tell you, it's a challenge. It's a challenge.
In your apprenticeship.
Yeah.
It's that 15-year commitment, isn't it?
Yeah, they just don't want to spend the time. And but they're learning slowly. I have 6 children, and they're all very artistic, and they've all helped me on jobs all the way. We did the Michigan State Capitol, the LA City Hall, and lots of big projects for the church, temples all over the world. And they've helped me on a lot of the jobs, but I'm hoping to retire here pretty soon. I'm 62, and I've been doing this a long time, but I still enjoy it. I really do. I enjoy it. Every day I come to work and I think, God, what can I do today to beautify this place? You know, and so it has an upbeat to it, even though it's a menial job. It still has a really nice flavor to it. I'm going to do a little sample of gold leaf, and just so you can see some actual gold leaf, and this is what it actually comes in. It comes in rolls, and it's pure gold, 23 karat gold. They have to put a little tiny bit of alloy in it, or it's too sticky. It doesn't come off the paper. So we use 23 karat, and like I say, it will never tarnish. It will be there forever and ever. But it's very thin, and what we do is we put a sizing on right here. You notice this is yellow. If you guys want to come over here, you can see it maybe a little better. This is what the imitation gold, you'll notice, is very brown, and I go over that with the sizing, which is a sticky kind of thing. It's just a very tiny bit of tackiness to it. Then I have my gold here, and I'll put it on where I want to, and it sticks only where the size is. And it's,
Also comes off the paper and
yeah, it
sticks
comes
on
right
the
on
other
it, and it
surface.
sticks on there,
When you present it.
like that.
Now, is that how they did it originally?
That's exactly how.
Really?
Yes,
so
everything.
they had this same method then?
Yeah,
huh?
not only that, but like these tools that I use, I got the ideas for these tools from them. And like this straight edge, and you notice it's beveled. You know, it has a bevel on it. They were the ones that gave me these ideas to use, and so we're doing the same exact tools, the procedures, everything. You know, where did that little brush go? Oh, here it is. Thanks.
It's in her purse.
Yeah, that's right. Now, what do you call this? Do these have names?
One's a straight edge and one's a maul stick. We call it a maul stick. That steadies your hand. You know, but these are the same stuff that they used. And so what you'll do is like that, and it just brushes right off.
So it just stays where you, it just stays
yeah,
where you put the sizing?
That's it. And you polish it a little bit. And,
So how do you put the sizing on with just a little brush?
yeah, just a
So
little.
you have to get that on really good.
You have to get it on
Yeah.
straight. That's where I use my straight edge for making sure that the lines are straight on these little tiny lines. I have to use this beveled straight edge. It's a special bevel, has a bevel on both sides, and you have to have them made. You can't buy them anywhere. And I use this maul stick here to steady my hand as I'm doing the curved portions. And you have to get it in there pretty straight, you know, so it looks right. And that's how it's done. It's pretty easy, really.
I get to see theaters all over the country too, and really there are a lot of great theaters, but I've never seen anything like this.
This Art Deco thing is very rare, you know. High Victorian you see everywhere, but this Art Deco motif is just so wonderful and unique.
But also carrying it around the proscenium. It seems like prosceniums really often, I mean, and maybe they should be, are kind of playing because they're staging. I mean, they're just trying to frame what's going on behind them. But this isn't playing.
It's quite the building. Yeah, I feel real privileged to work on it.
One nice thing is this will look so much different from down there. Everything will be a lot tighter. We've done all these edges, which were, as he said, weren't originally done the first time, so that it has a little more depth to it.
The other thing that's happened since then is that the relative costs of labor and material have switched. And now material is relatively more cheap than labor. So it used to be that you could spend a ton of labor on something like this,
Yeah.
and it really wasn't that expensive. And now labor is really expensive.
They were making like $1.40 an hour.
an hour.
Well, they didn't have jobs, so this was an amazing thing to
Put
let
people
those
to work.
in the Depression work.
That's right.
And that's a hey, bonus all the way around.
It is so wonderful to see this being restored to what it was. I am so grateful to the donors and the people that have supported this project. It is well worth it. It will continue to be a beautiful landmark, I think, for the whole nation, not only just Ogden. So I am awestruck. I am moved to tears to see how beautifully it's being done and the care and the concern with it. So this has been a wonderful experience to be able to be this close to what I think of it as a work of art. It's lovely.
So pretty cool, huh? And we'll come back when the scaffolding's off and see what it looks like all lit up and pretty. See ya.